Hi everyone, welcome to Mitch Maths. My name is Mitch and today we're going to go right back to the maths fundamentals. And the reason for that is because these fundamentals are going to form the basis for everything you need to know and everything that we're going to cover here on Mitch Maths. We're going to start off by looking at the number line and looking at how it's a really great way to visualize adding and subtracting, especially with negative numbers. We're then going to go on to some much harder addition, subtraction, multiplication and division, all with no calculator. I'm going to show you guys some really good tricks that you can use to get it right every single time. And honestly guys, the things we're going to be doing in this video are not just going to be useful for your exams, but they're going to be useful in your whole lives. Okay, first things first then, let's take a look at the number line. I'm sure everyone has seen something like this before. It's one of the first things you get shown when you start to learn maths in school. Here's mine. This is one I've just drawn myself. And one of the first things you probably notice about my number line is right in the very middle, I've got the number 0. 0 is probably one of the most important numbers that we have in all of maths, and that is essentially because it's the reference point for which all other numbers are taken. For example, 3, we call it 3 because it is 1, 2, 3 away from our reference point 0. Numbers on the number line get higher and greater in value the further to the right we go on the number line, and the numbers get lower of less value further to the left we go on our number line. And of course the number line doesn't just go from -10 to 10. I'm sure everyone here can count higher than 10, and if you kept counting for higher and higher and higher, what you'd be doing is you'd be counting towards what we call infinity, which is given a symbol just like this. So infinity is not a number, but it's in fact the name we give to the idea of just endlessness. You could count higher and higher forever and ever, and no matter how big of a number you can think of or what you can write down, you'll always be able to add 1 to it. And that's essentially what infinity is. It is just endless, forever and ever and ever. And you can do the exact same thing the other way on the number line too. You can go much lower than -10, and you can keep counting just like you did in the positive direction, but on this side you'd be heading towards minus infinity. It's exactly the same symbol, just negative. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys how we can use the number line to visualize some really simple adding and subtracting. And the first one we're going to look at here is the really simple sum of 2 plus 3. The main rules we need to remember when looking at sums like these is which way on the number line do we want to travel. So the first rule is when we're doing addition, we are traveling to the right of the number line. We're getting higher in value and we're moving to the right. So let's do that on this one then. So 2 plus 3, we'll start at 2 and we want to add 3, so we want to move 3 to the right. So we'll start at 2 and we'll go 1, 2, 3, and here we arrive at 5, and that's our answer. 2 plus 3 equals 5. Starting at 2, count 3 to the right of the number line and we arrive at 5. So now let's look at a subtraction then. So now we'll go the other way. We'll go 5 minus 3. So the rule for subtraction is to travel now to the left of the number line, the opposite direction to when we were adding. So now we're going back down the number line, getting lower numbers, getting lower in value. So just like we did before then, 5 minus 3, so we'll start at 5 and we basically want to count 3 to the left of the number line. So start at 5 and we go 1, 2, 3, and here we arrive at 2. And that's our answer. 5 minus 3 equals 2. Do that once again. Start at 5, count 3, 1, 2, 3, and we arrive at 2. And that's a really good way of how you can use the number line to visualize some of those really simple adding and subtracting. And this works from any starting point on the number line, doing any numbers. So let's now pick a slightly harder example of 4 minus 6. Obviously 6 is bigger than 4, but we can work it out in the exact same way we just did with the others. So let's choose 4 as our starting point, and we want to minus 6. Remember, if we're minusing, we want to go to the left of the number line, getting lower in value because we're taking away. So we want to start at 4 and count 6. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And here we arrive at -2, and that is our answer. We go below 0 to -2. 4 minus 6 is -2. And we can do the exact same thing if we start at a negative number 2. So let's pick an example of that then. We'll go -5 plus 8. Okay, just like we've done before, we have our starting number here, -5, so we'll start at -5, and we want to add 8. So remember, if we're adding, we want to go to the right of the number line. So we'll start at -5 and we'll count 8. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And here we are, number 3. So that is our answer. -5 plus 8 is +3. So let's now pick another example then when we're using negative numbers. So this time we're going to do -5 minus 3. So in the exact same way as we did before then, we're going to start at -5 and we're going to -3. Remember, if we're minusing, we want to go left of the number line, getting lower in value. So we'll start at -5, we want to -3. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. -8, that is our answer to -5 minus 3. Be careful here because it looks very, very similar to this equation here. We have 5 minus 3 and that equal 2. But don't forget, we've got completely different starting positions. Here we've got 5, which is a +5 all the way up on this side of the number line. And in this equation, we've got -5, which is all the way down here on the number line, which is a whole 10 difference from where we were before. So watch out for that, guys. Make sure you know exactly what side of 0 you're starting from, and then count which way you need to, depending on if you're adding or subtracting, just like we've done in all of these examples. So I also want to introduce you guys to what you do when you add negative numbers. So I'll show you a quick example of that as well. So the example I'm going to choose is 2 plus -6. So this would be really, really easy if we were doing 2 plus 6, because you start at 2 and count 6 up. However, in this case, we've got 2 plus a negative number. So what actually happens when we have 2 plus a -6 is this essentially turns into 2 minus 6. If you add a negative number, you ends up being a minus. So the equation basically just becomes 2 minus 6. And we'll do the exact same thing we did before. So we'll start at number 2 and we'll -6 from it. So we'll go to the left of the number line. We'll start at 2 and we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that arrived at -4. So that is our answer to 2 plus -6 then becomes a minus. 2 minus 6 is -4. So then what do we do when we want to minus a negative number? So let's think about this example here then. So let's think about -4 minus -7. So lots of negatives in this equation. We have our starting point, -4. We have that on the number line. And this time we want to minus a negative number, minus a minus. So when we do this, what it actually becomes, so we have our starting point, -4, exactly the same. But when we minus a minus, it becomes a plus. So in fact, it becomes -4 plus 7. So when we add a minus, it becomes a minus. When we minus a minus, it becomes a plus. So just like we did before then, we'll start at -4 on the number line, and we'll add 7. So we're -4. If we're adding, we go to the right of the number line. So you're -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3. And that is the answer to -4 minus -7 is 3. So I know this looks confusing, guys, but there's just 2 rules you have to remember here. If you're plussing a minus, it becomes a minus. And if you're minusing a minus, it becomes a plus. And obviously if you're plussing a plus, it's still a plus. And as long as you get those rules, guys, you'll be able to answer these little sums and get them right every single time. Okay, so we've just been through what we do when we add and subtract positive and negative numbers, and some of the rules we've just been over will be really, really useful because now they carry over as well into multiplication. So let's think about multiplying some of these positive and negative values then. So let's think about how we multiply positive values. So let's start with a really, really easy one of 2 times 2. I'm sure everyone knows this as 4. So what happens then when we do a 2 times minus 2? So just like when we did addition, if you had a plus and a negative, it became a negative. And that's exactly what happens when you multiply as well. So if you multiply a plus by a negative, you get a negative number. This is so positive 2 multiplied by negative 2 is negative 4. And it's the exact same rule as well if we want to multiply two negative numbers. So let's have minus 2 times minus 2. Minus and a minus becomes a plus, so that becomes positive 4. So the exact same rules, guys, for adding and subtracting, but this time just in multiplication it works exactly the same. Positive and a positive equals a positive times a minus is a minus, and a minus times a minus is a positive. It's so beneficial, guys, to try and commit these sort of rules to memory. You'll have lots of little sums in exam questions where you have to do little steps like this. So as long as you remember the rules, positive and a positive is a positive, positive and a minus is a minus, and a minus and a minus is a positive. So quick way to remember it is only when they're different is it a minus. When they're the same, it's always a positive. And when you remember these rules, guys, you'll be able to get it right in your exam questions every single time. Okay, so that gives a really quick overview then of some of the maths basics when it comes to the number line, how you can use it to visualize adding and subtracting, and some of the rules involved in adding, subtracting, multiplying positive and negative numbers together. So this video turned out to be quite long. So in the end, what I've done is I've split the video into 3 parts. So you guys have just watched part 1, where we went over the number line. And in part 2, we're going to be looking over long addition and long subtraction. And then in part 3, we're going to go over long multiplication and long division. So if you want to learn all this stuff, guys, go and watch those videos, and hopefully they'll be really useful. Thanks.